Today's episode is brought to you by Mazars.
SoundCartel.
Energy. Most of us could do with a lot more of it. The relentless nature of running a small business can be sapping at the best of times. But dealing with unexpected crises and unforeseen difficulties, or even just worrying about them, can also have a big impact. So, how can we lift and maintain our energy levels to foster a successful business? From SoundCartel, I'm Nicole Goodman, and this is Business Essentials Daily. Roger Perry is the Managing Director of Bevington Group, a consulting firm specialising in process improvement, business operating models and change management. He says that there are 5 key steps to take to maintain and improve your energy levels. Roger Perry says being mindful about stress levels and general health and fitness are good places to start, as he explained to Jeff Waters.
The reality is that we only have so much energy. It is something that needs to be managed. And there's plenty of literature written about this, but certainly there's no such thing as an infinite energy level. You can't keep burning yourself out. You do need to therefore make some conscious choices about where you spend your energy, how you sustain your energy as well. So how do you build it and how do you sustain it, as well as how you spend it. Now, it's much more important now than probably at any time in human history because we're entering into extremely unknown charters again. And that's after the exhaustion for many people of the COVID-19 pandemic and all the work that's been needed to manage it. So people have been tired out by it in some cases. Leaders have found it strenuous in some cases. So it's extremely important to pause, reflect, figure out how to build it, how to sustain it, and then how do you spend the energy you've got. It is not infinite.
So in a rapidly changing and high-pressure environment, like we've experienced during COVID, how can owners and managers maintain their high performance?
So I think there are 3, if not 4 pieces to this. The first thing is the basics that people always talk about. So eat well. Not easy to do when you're in a high-pressure situation. Get some rest. Get some exercise. So those basics are very important. People also add in, and importantly so, psychologists add in social contact. Very important. So if you can get your rest, you can get your diet, you can get your exercise, and you can get your social contact, that's a good start, but it is insufficient, unfortunately. The second thing you need to do is have ways to change yourself to be able to adhere to those habits, because you've got a whole bunch of bad habits, most of us, that need to be corrected. And a good way to think about this is in 2 schools of thought. The first school of thought, where I first got into resilience, was following cognitive behavioral therapy and Stoicism, the philosophy. They're related concepts, and they basically teach you to focus on what you can control. And they're very much Hamlet's quote that there's nothing good or bad, but thinking makes it so. So if you get your head straight, you actually have a lot more energy because you're not burning unnecessary energy, fretting over things that are beyond your control, and you can focus on the things you can do something about. So really important schools of thought to get your head in the game. The other way to get your head in the game is to understand a little bit about the neuroscience. There's a book called Habits of a Happy Brain by someone called Brunig, and Brunig basically takes you through how to form new habits that allow you to do things like get the rest you need, get the exercise you need, get the diet you need, and so forth. But there is a final bit to this which is really, really important, which is that Stoicism and that CBT bit is all about, in many senses, reframing. Yes, there's nothing good or bad, but thinking makes it so. And the first thing you can think about is the stresses that you're under. Stress is a destroyer of energy, if you like. It's great in the short term, but it's terrible if it's negative stress. But if you basically can reframe it, so you say, well, the stress I'm feeling is actually excitement. Strangely enough, it has a really interesting effect on your neurochemistry, and this relates to the work of people like Taleb, who essentially say that stress and rest allows you to keep going. One form of rest is about thinking about things differently. So the advice I give on this is get your thinking game right, that will allow you to get your physical game right. If you can get your physical game right, that's fantastic, but you do need to manage those ongoing stress levels because they can suck energy. You can do that by thinking as the Stoics thought, which is, it's only my thoughts that are really stressing me out. And you can reframe even the stress you're under by saying, well, actually, it will take me to peak performance for a short time, and after which I'll learn a huge from it, but do give yourself a break, as Taleb said. So reframe and then learn how to manage your own brain. So a lot of it's managing your own brain.
A lot of what you described also requires time, particularly the looking after yourself physically. What would your advice be to business owners who don't have any time?
Look, it's a huge problem. I absolutely sympathize. I'm often in that position myself. So this goes back to old-fashioned Stephen Covey stuff. It's the 4 quadrants, and quadrant 2 are the things that might not be urgent but are really, really important. So the first thing is in your own mental game to realize that if you don't pause to have a vegetable or eat a piece of fruit, if you don't pause to go for a walk, if you don't pause to get 6 or 7 hours sleep, then what will actually happen is your effectiveness will degrade, and so it's not in your interest. So the thing to realize is that by doing the things that matter to maintain your health at a basic threshold, you're actually doing something extremely important, because this need for high pressure work is not going to go away. We are coming towards COVID normal, but it's not really normal, it's COVID normal. We do have many, many uncharted roads in front of us, depending on your business. As we come out of COVID, we do have unusual international pressures. We do have all sorts of changing ESG pressures as well, so environmental, social and governance, as well as geopolitical pressures, all of which will have an impact on Australia, and a massively increased pace of change. I've never seen restructuring like it, and I restructure for a living, basically.
What's the relationship between energy levels and one's ability to focus?
Oh, enormous. So focus is an energy user. What people don't realize is the brain actually feeds on glucose too. It actually burns through your energy stores, which is an extraordinary thing because we think it's just muscles and going out and maybe go for a run or go for a walk. That's all using energy, but it actually does use energy. In fact, one of the things we tell our people is that if you're training folk, give them 20 minutes of intense work and then give them a breather so that their brains can recover their focus. So energy and focus are directly related concepts in that if you've got plenty of mental energy, you'll be able to do more in focus. Now, and you get yourself in a vicious cycle. You don't have enough energy. You're not really focused. You spend more time working. That depletes your energy further when you could have actually dealt with it much faster if your energy levels were good and were focused. So there's a bit of a vicious cycle there happening.
Apart from a changing and unpredictable environment, what else can sap our energy?
Well, interestingly enough, things like negativity can sap our energy. So the way we think, if we think, woe is me, that'll sap energy. If we think, what an interesting and exciting challenge, what's good or bad, is in your thinking mode, then that'll completely change your energy level. There are psychologists who advise that, in fact, that you see stress, for example, or challenge through a positive lens, and that'll completely change your worldview and give you much more energy. So I think the way you think about things is a critical way to address that particular challenge. And for those who are interested in that, a good place to start is with that Stoic perspective. And Stoic is a philosophy, it's a formal philosophy. Probably I'd start with something like, there's a gentleman, a philosopher called Irvine, who writes something called The Art of Stoic Joy. And essentially what that will do is it'll guide you through a series of exercises and thinking patterns that allow you to manage your mental energy so that you can manage focus, and it flips round into a nice virtuous circle. Then if you manage your focus well, you get more energy. You get more energy, you manage your focus better, and off you go. And if your focus is better, it's fantastic for your business.
That was Bevington Group Managing Director, Roger Perry. This episode of Business Essentials Daily is produced by the team at SoundCartel. Thanks for listening. I'm Nicole Goodman. We'll bring you more Be Daily tomorrow. Follow at BE Daily Podcast across social media and head to bedaily.com.au for more from the Business Essentials Daily podcast. SoundCartel. This episode was brought to you by Mazars. To find out more, visit mazars.com.au. That's mazars.com.au.